fellow investigators, and welcome to our video podcast, Into the Darkness, where my friends and I play the Call of Cthulhu role-playing game. I'm your host, Tom Rayleigh. We're about to begin a scenario that was recommended to me back in 2015, and we are finally getting around to playing it on our channel. Painted Smile was written by Richard Watts and Keith Herber. You'll find it in a collection entitled Tales from the Miskatonic Valley. I'm your game master, and this is episode 1. Let's go ahead and introduce our characters. Oren, why don't you go first?
Thank you. I am playing Virgil Sprague. I am the medical examiner whose offices are also happen to be at the hospital at Miskatonic University. I am bald and short with gray eyes, average build. I'm a hard worker and tireless at finding the truth when it comes to someone's death. And I have a definite mania about being with cleanliness. And I have 2 dogs that I walk on a regular basis. They are known as Mars and Venus.
Excellent. Jeff?
Hello, I'm Jeff, and I'm going to be playing Dr. Robert H. Cope. He is a paleontologist from Miskatonic University, originally from Savannah, Georgia. He is a tall, lanky man dressed mostly in dark clothing who tends to have his clothes constantly wrinkled and unkempt, as well as his hair, as if he doesn't have time to properly prepare for the day. He took an interest in Arkham and its history and decided to take up permanent residency there, along with his dog, Francis the Pug, who often accompanies him almost everywhere, even on paleontological expeditions.
Cool. Nimrod?
So I'll be playing Robert Defaster. Robert is 30-something years old money, used to be a dilettante in the day. Has some former loves that he sometimes mentions but doesn't talk much about. But today he runs a small shop called Quaint Curiosities, where he sells all different kinds of antiques, but mostly delves into the occult. He really hates the water and never goes near the sea. Black, oiled hair, small mustache, and he has like this twisted leg, so he keeps walking with a cane. That's me.
Cool. Grant?
So I'm playing Langston Carter. He is the managing curator at the Miskatonic University Exhibit Museum. He's got a knack for finding strange objects to add to the collection. He gained great respect among antiquarians for his procurement of the Innsmouth jewelry collection. He's a short man in his mid-40s. He unmarried, walks with a limp, and so he too uses a cane. He's got a reputation as being a bit ruthless in his pursuit of objects for the university's collection. He's also known to be very persuasive. So that's Mr. Langston Carter.
And Josh?
I'm Philip Portland, 42, explorer extraordinaire. Some people would call me handsome, but I see myself as extremely gorgeous. Just look at me. I'm a beautiful man. I've got my gray hair, blue eyes. I like the extravagant lifestyle I live. However, it may have cost me a few things down the line, but everyone loves me. See, everyone.
So without any further delay, let's begin our journey into the darkness. We all know Arkham. We've lived here for a while. Despite the world's progress, much of Arkham stays rooted in the past. Its alleys are narrow and twisted, not made for automobiles. Every house has an attic where lies the accumulated detritus of those who live below and those who came before them. Every house has a basement, and below that, who knows? The people that live there have grown accustomed to strange things. They preserve so much of their haunted past. With pride, they hold dear the stories of their ancestors, however dark they may be. The Arkham Historical Society is made up of people from nearly every walk of life. The one thing they have in common is a deep love for the history of their little corner of the world. For them, it's a game of details. When you encounter a member of the Historical Society walking on the street and you ask him about that old house on Independence Street, his response will not be clipped. He will tell you at length about the federal period, about its architectural features. He'll tell you that it was designed by Edward Mackey, built in 1790, originally commissioned by Stuart Peabody, and so on. Finding the details is what gives them pleasure. That's the kind of people they are. It was early May in 1929, around 4:30 p.m. The Arkham Historical Society was gathered at Robert Defaster's manor house in the Uptown District, having afternoon tea. There was an array of sweet treats prepared by cook, and everyone was enjoying themselves, when Langston Carter produced a light green envelope from his pocket and asked everyone's attention.
Everyone, please, if I may have your attention, I was contacted yesterday via post by a Mr. Donald P. Hemingford of Boston, Massachusetts. Allow me the moment just to read his letter to you. Dear Mr. Carter, I would like to make a request of the Arkham Historical Society. I hope that I'm correct in contacting you. I have a friend, Mr. Miles Truman, who is writing a book about New England architecture and is looking for information about an obscure 19th century architect named Andrew Hathaway. Little exists other than the most rudimentary information about this Hathaway. Hathaway was a lifelong resident of Arkham and is thought responsible for an unusual fanlight design found only in the Miskatonic Valley area. Mr. Truman would like some confirmation. I can send you a photo of the fanlight, but it may be more convenient for you to view it directly for yourselves. An example exists at 357 West College Street near the Miskatonic University. Mr. Truman also has reason to believe that one of Hathaway's descendants, a granddaughter, may still be alive and living somewhere in Arkham, and that she might be able to provide proof of their ancestors' architectural design. Do you think it possible that you could locate the descendant and verify Hathaway's claim to the design? Any additional information would be invaluable. Mr. Truman can offer your historical society a donation of $50 for your trouble. Would that be sufficient? Of course, he will also put a thank you in his upcoming book. Sincerely, Donald P. Hemingford. Well, I wanted to share that with you to see if the society would be interested in following up on this matter.
Not only that, but maybe the granddaughter has artifacts or journals that will provide more detail about the historical facts of not only himself, but Arkham of that time period.
She could be a huge resource if she's got records going back to her grandfather's architectural designs.
Especially since I don't ever recall hearing anything about this Hathaway fella ever. I'm curious as to see this fanlight design.
Well,
Now,
I think
for-
it's worth a trip.
For the location of Robert Defaster's house, it would probably be literally down the hill because just down the hill is where the campus starts. Maybe on the other side of the campus is the location of this fanlight that he's talking about. So probably a nice afternoon walk would get you there in 10 minutes.
Now, the address he gave us, would have been at that time point of when Hathaway was alive, would that have been an up and coming neighborhood or?
Well, it would be near the university, so
Okay.
a fairly nice area.
I don't mind the stroll if you guys are into it.
Yes, it might be nice, a stroll, to work off, to build up an appetite. And as you all know, we like to have a little aperitif after everything.
That sounds like a wonderful plan.
That is true.
No,
I
it's
don't see
May.
why we can't have a nice little stroll.
It's May, so it's still, a little bit of a chill, but not much of a chill in the air. The weather's pretty good right now. It's late afternoon, so it's the warmest part of the day. And the sun is still out for another few hours.
And we can play our usual game while walking through Arkham. As we see certain buildings, each of us will have to recite different historical aspects. See who can, know a bit more than the other.
Oh, yes, that sounds riveting, Mr. Sprague.
All right.
Yes, I would be up for a stroll. I hope not to slow you young chaps down, but as long as you don't run too far ahead.
Oh, don't worry, Mr. Carter. We'll go at a
Oh,
nice
come
pace.
now, Carter. You know us Southern folk always take our time with things.
Very good, Dr. Cope.
All right. So you all step out onto the front porch. It's a nice late afternoon. You walk slowly down the hill, as you say, identifying various architecture and the history of people who lived in that building or this building or whatever. You turn onto the street in question and you walk down a ways until you get to the correct address. And you look up. It seems to be some sort of probably an office building, I suppose is what you'd call it. And this is the front entrance.
Oh, beautiful entrance.
And the fan light is the window over the door.
It's quite an interesting design.
Yes, it's very interesting. It looks suspiciously very tentacle-like. Like an organ. Can you see the little squiggles? They look like...
I mean...
Well, I see it more like the sun.
Yeah, exactly, Sprague. But
I spent too much time exploring at sea, I think. I just see octopuses everywhere. They're wriggly tentacles.
I've passed through here.
I'm unfortunately seeing horns of perhaps a gazelle or something. But either way, that is indeed a very interesting design. Usually you only see stained glass or perhaps square or even rectangular, but not anything like that.
Well, and typically the mullions are in straight radial patterns out, not the squiggles or the tentacles, as Mr. Portland calls them.
Oh, thank you for indulging me, Mr. Carter.
I must admit, it is a splash of fresh air. And now that you said tentacles, I had to think that you may be right on that, only because of the proximity to the sea and how much New England is affected by the coastline it does have.
Yes, but I can see it looks a little bit like a sun, but I don't know.
Could be both.
Could be a mix, yes, indeed.
Tentacled sun, that would be something indeed.
I'm pretty sure we'll find out some more once we investigate this Hathaway fella more.
Do any of us have a camera or anything? Because we'd probably, if one of us has a camera, we'd probably take a shot of it, or for the archives, or if someone's good at drawing.
Langston has already pulled out his sketchbook and
All
has
right.
started sketching the transom window. I wonder if anyone inside might know anything in particular about the window. I'm not sure what this office building is for. Let's try. As Langston walks up the
There's no
stairs and
sign as to like the names of whoever's there or anything.
No, there's not. My guess is you would probably know. You probably know who this is, just because you're the historical society. It's probably just a steno pool office, and this late in the day, it's closed.
shucks.
Nothing really remarkable about it.
Yes, I do believe it's part of a stenopad, group, probably attached to the university, taking care of, the various aspects that the professors and university need.
Yes, indeed. But I would definitely love to learn more about this. It's intriguing.
I'm wondering if there's more examples of it here in Arkham or in the nearby areas.
There could be. There could be several buildings here that have that similar.
I'm surprised that we haven't.
Yeah, Hemingford did mention, or at least suggested in his letter, that the Miskatonic Valley had perhaps multiple examples of this style of fanlight.
Right. It was just never brought forward until, I guess, Hemingford's own investigations.
Well, let's see. How should we proceed with the Hathaway investigation? There is the potential granddaughter, or I suppose
I would think that the Holler Records might be our best bet, or maybe the hospital records, because that would have they have copies of the births and deaths as well, particularly the births.
They are both good places to start. And it's looking nice out today. We could.
What time is it? You said it was late and our office was closed. So what time
Probably
is
about 5:15.
It's a good afternoon.
Well, actually, it's a little bit late to hit any of the real offices. We may have to wait till tomorrow morning.
Yes, we could try, on the off chance that in some architectural history books at the library might have some. The library will be opened at this time.
That's true.
Yes.
Maybe have a little bit even more background information when and if we do contact this granddaughter.
That is a mighty fine idea, Carter.
Yes, a
Of
nice
course,
stroll.
we would, call the lady's house before we ever show up. That's just proper manners.
Yes,
Don't
we
want
don't
to
want
just come
to
knocking
show
at
up.
her door while she's got something baking in the oven, so to speak. So let's not disturb her unless we absolutely must.
And she may not want to deal with it at all,
Yes, it might be sensitive to her to relive that. And we don't want to upset the poor girl.
So what would you like to do?
I think we will head to the university to head to the library.
Okay.
Yes.
University library is probably our best bet.
Well, the university is literally across the street. So you cross the street onto the campus, and you make your way to the university library, where I believe Professor Armitage is still the head librarian, although he's probably getting ready to leave for the day. There's probably other librarians there in the evening. So we'll say that you see him walking down the steps of the library as he's leaving.
Oh.
And he's probably knows you because you're historical society.
Professor?
Gentlemen,
Ah,
out for a stroll.
yes, yes. Good to see you again.
Well, library's still open. It's open until 8.
Excellent, excellent.
Thank you, thank you.
Oh, and if you do see Danforth, give him my best during that Antarctic expedition he's going on.
Oh, yeah. That's supposed to be something else, isn't it?
Yes, intriguing. I wish I
A
could get...
few years, but still in the making.
I hope they get the funding they need. It's going to take a lot more backers.
Ah,
No, I think they'll be fine.
I wish I could take part. That'd be excellent.
Oh, no, I don't like the cold that much.
Same here, but unfortunately I don't deal... See, I would have went myself, but unfortunately I don't deal with Precambrian era stuff, which is more the stuff what they're looking for.
I'm sure I'll be sorting through material for years after the return.
Well, you all
Looking
have
forward to it.
a good evening, then. Good night.
You too. Enjoy your dinner.
All right, you walk into the library, and there's still, students here and there. The library itself is, I suppose you could technically say 3 stories. It's one level. It's the level that you're on. There's a level above and a level below. So it just depends on whether you're looking for periodicals or whether you're looking for, text. I believe it's already on the Dewey Decimal System at this time. So what would you like to look for?
I would like to look for something on architecture. Maybe cast the net to the entire state. So state history, architecture. I'm going to be looking for the Hathaway name.
Okay, there's quite a lot of books. Go ahead and do a library roll.
Sure. It's a regular success.
Okay. What you find is you find almost an offhanded reference to an Andrew Hathaway, 1818 to 1894, listed as an architect. Doesn't say prominent architect, doesn't say famous architect, just says architect. And that's about it.
I'm going to look. I'm going to take and see if I can find anything specific on the name itself. Besides that, maybe on the see what the family background is, his forefathers, and maybe at least see if he had any children.
Yes, I'm also going to look to see if there's some form of directory in here, because I'm sure there would be.
Well, there'll be a phone book, a town directory. All right, Virgil, do a library roll.
I had a hard success.
All right. What you find is that the Hathaways used to be a fairly decent family, part of the Arkham, not the Arkham originators, but they were a fairly decent family, and they were into all sorts of various things. They had enough money that their kids could all be educated. Their original house, though, was a fairly large estate, but it's where part of downtown is now. So at some point, the house or property was sold, the house demolished, and shops and things were put up in its place. It doesn't say anything about what happened to the Hathaways after that point in time. They just
That would have
faded away.
So what time did they lose the house approximately? When was the
Oh.
last?
Say around 1900.
Okay, 1900. Well, it seems that we're going to have to do our searching from 1900 on. Gentlemen.
I'll also give that Andrew. It does mention that Andrew Hathaway was married. It'll give a spouse name.
Okay, I will write the spouse name because since I do have the ability to get into the hospital, and since it would make sense that the university hospital is probably the main hospital of this area, they might have the records going back that far.
Okay, we'll say a Penelope.
All right,
Penelope Hathaway was his wife.
All right.
Yes. In the town directory, I'm looking for Hathaways, obviously. That
All
is
right.
the name, the last name I know. Well,
You look for Hathaways, and there is a single listing for M. Hathaway. There is no phone listing, but there is an address, and the address is 596 Walnut Street. You would know that Walnut Street is over on the edge of French Hill. It's an immigrant neighborhood now, mostly Lithuanians and Polish people and other ethnic groups. It's not a very nice part of town anymore.
Gentlemen, look at this. I have located an address, but it doesn't seem there's a number to call.
Well, we may need to check to make sure
So
that
no
is.
phone number.
Well, we could always mail a letter too.
Yes, we could.
But let's do some more research because that might not be the Hathaway we want. She might not live in the town. She might be on the outskirts now these days.
That is very true, but it's still a Walnut
Oh,
Street
yes.
is something to keep in mind.
Yeah, true.
That's where they had the riot in 1890. Walnut Street. I never go there myself.
Yes, it's in that Lithuanian part.
Yes,
of town.
unfortunately, I have to deal with unfortunates that come from that area.
French Hill used to be a very nice area a century ago, and it's just one of those parts of town that has slowly gone downhill.
In
Like-
truth, I do avoid the French Hill Quarter.
I have been there once, and it was a unpleasant experience.
It's safe enough during the day. It's just not where you'd want to end up at night.
Does the
looking.
Does this university have a decent newspaper archive or not?
Sure. Yeah. The
Well,
Arkham Sentinel.
Okay. Well, we do know his name and his wife's name. We could look back to see if they had any children or any documentation of birth in the newspaper.
Yeah.
Not only birth, but also more in your line of work, death. We
That's
can look up
exactly
the
right.
Obituaries.
Yes, very true.
Yes.
That's a good place. So maybe we should
Fucking idea.
have a look together because we can cover a bit more ground.
Yes, we could all cover a certain period of time. Because somewhere in there would be the marriage and possible births, and you're right, death.
Yes, I did discover that Andrew Hathaway was born in 1818 and died in 1894. So we can sort of narrow our searches to the middle of the last century.
Yes, and if he died in 1894, we should be able, it would usually a good obituary will have the next of kin in there.
That is very true. That's very true.
That might be our first spot to check.
Usually, yes.
Let's start there. That's an excellent idea.
Okay. So you start
Find
looking.
out what our dear Andrew was survived by.
You start looking through the papers. Go ahead and do just a luck roll. Those of you who are looking to see if you can find it.
Nope, I failed that.
Oh, I got an extreme. Second extreme.
Good job.
All right.
Got 23 out of 60.
So, Robert, you're the first one to find something. You find an obituary for Andrew Hathaway when he dies. And it says that he is survived by his 3 sons, Kyle, Keith, and Paul Hathaway. Probably also says that he was a widower. So his wife, Penelope, died before he did.
Gentlemen, look what I found.
Does it say what the 3 boys do? Sometimes a obituary will indicate that.
It didn't.
Doesn't seem to.
Does it state where he was buried?
Sure. St. Clair's graveyard next to St. Clair's Church. St. Clair's Catholic Church.
Okay. Family plot or not?
It doesn't say.
Okay.
Well,
That
he only
is in
has
that is in
sons.
North.
Well, we got new names to. Go ahead.
I'm saying if they only have sons, that does, maybe Portland that Hathaway found must be a descendant, unless someone changed the name somewhere down the line.
Did they mention their ages at the time of his death? Sometimes they'll do that.
No.
What the children? Okay.
Oh, we can still look up their names in obituaries and all that and see if we can nail down who might be the granddaughter.
Well, we're in them. Yeah. We can try doing that. So we will. This will be a little bit more work since we don't have an exact date, but something we are up for.
Why don't you guys do, let's say, a group luck roll? Whoever has the highest luck or the best luck.
So I have 90, so I think that'll be me.
It beats me.
60.
Yeah, I've got 65. So.
All right.
You don't need much. You don't need much luck when you're dealing with dead bodies.
Well, if you're trying to find smaller cult books, all the luck you can get.
All right.
I got 27, which is hard.
Okay. By 7:30, doing your little bits of research, the third son, Paul Hathaway, was married to Janice Quill, and they had two daughters, Margaret and Mildred. All of the other members of the family, Keith and Kyle's children, don't start with the letter M. But Margaret and Mildred both begin with the letter M, which you know that it's M. Hathaway.
So who will it be? Will it be Margaret or Mildred at that house?
Does the newspaper say whether they
Well,
are
we find
older or
the one that has
younger
two
or
names.
twins?
It doesn't say.
Okay.
You know, we could send
Birth
a
records
courier.
would say so, but
We could send a courier over with a post just to this address, letting Ms. M. Hathaway know that the Historical Society will be calling upon her tomorrow morning, say at 10 a.m. to expect a visit. That might be the polite thing to do.
Well,
Send
what is
Thomas my
tomorrow?
driver.
Tuesday.
Tuesday. Well, we don't know what the young lady. Oh, we don't even know if she's young.
She probably wouldn't be.
It wouldn't be. What would we guess would be her age by this time point?
Well, we're kind of working down 2 generations. It's a little difficult to tell.
It's a little, yeah. And Andrew Hathaway died in 1894 at 76 years of age. So they could be old, or he, the M. Hathaway could be old.
Yeah. Yeah. It's assuming that she doesn't work, but if she's of a certain age, she probably is not.
Yes, but we could at least send this letter ahead and turn up, and if she isn't there, we can try again, can't we?
I can send my driver to ask when would be the most convenient time to pop in.
That
Like
could be a
shorten
more
the
appropriate,
waiting
instead
time.
of saying that we'll show up at 10, more along the lines of, we would be interested in meeting with you at your convenience.
Yes, please write back, and we could put Robert's address there, and she can send back a letter. It's a good idea.
Okay. So we'll say that you
I'm
guys do that
certainly
this
in
evening.
favor.
I'm sorry, what was that, Jeff?
I was just saying I was in favor of that plan.
All right. Do you do that this evening, or do you do that in the morning?
I think we'll post the letter now just to get things going.
All right.
Yes,
Yeah.
to clarify, Robert DePaster's house, not Robert Cope's house.
There is message services,
And that's
in the
why I'm
tent.
called Cope.
Yes.
So that's not very difficult to do. You write up a message, and you pay somebody to deliver it. All right. You should receive an answer in the morning, or possibly later in the evening, but probably in the morning. All right. Do you want to do anything else before the next day?
We could check out her, see if she was ever married.
Okay.
Yes, we could.
Well, you've run out of time at the library.
Yes.
Time. Lose track of time.
It's getting a bit late. I don't like to wouldn't want to head into that neighborhood at this time of night. What do you think, gentlemen? Should we head back and have our usual meeting and have a wee dram and an enjoyable smoke?
That sounds like a good
quite the
idea.
plan.
All right. So you walk back to enjoy
I've been looking forward to that all afternoon.
you enjoy your evening together, and then you all head for home. Next morning, where are you going to meet up?
Probably at the Historical Society.
Okay. Robert, later the previous evening, you do receive a message. It's from a Mildred Hathaway, and she says that she never gets company. She would love to have company come and talk to her. She suggests sometime in the afternoon would be fine.
Fantastic.
All right.
really
So I
that's
assume
the
you all
meeting
get
together.
you all get together at the Historical Society, and Robert has that news for you.
Since we're going to visit her, we should probably bring a little something as a gift or something. Maybe flowers, or maybe a little box good of baked goods.
Uh,
Oh, there's a wonderful bakery near my house. I can order something.
I definitely agree.
Mm.
I definitely agree. We need to bring flowers, goods, something to ease her spirits with talking to a new bunch of strangers at her house.
All right. So you guys work your way through the day as you normally do. We'll say around 3 o'clock. You all, who drives? That's probably a good question.
I drive.
All right. So you all pile into Philip's touring car, which
Yeah.
seats 8. And you drive over to the neighborhood. Now, when you get to this neighborhood, French Hill has a lot of twisty, turny, windy little roads that are not very good for driving, because you might be able to get your car in that alley, but you might not be able to get it back out again.
Yes,
You certainly couldn't turn around.
we might have to park up. Gentlemen, I'm an adventurous chap, but I do not think I can get through these and get us back out the way we came.
There's plenty of places to park, though. French Hill's a busy area this time of day. There are people working. There are little restaurants and shops. There are clotheslines going between buildings with laundry on them. There are children playing in the street, running around in dirty clothes and so forth everywhere.
Oh, these poor children with that terrible.
So you are going to, what's the street? Walnut Street. So you find Walnut Street, and you're going to have to walk up the hill a little bit. It's a little bit steeper than what you're used to, but as long as you go fairly slow. So you're strangers in the neighborhood, and you catch sort of the attention of the kids. And the kids are doing what kids do. They're running around, they're giggling, they're laughing. They're, doing little sing-songy things and stuff like that. And it only takes a couple of minutes before you've lost their attention, and they go dancing up the road. And you see them running up the road ahead of you, and they stop in front of an older house, and they start dancing around in circles, and you hear this little sort of sing-songy thing that they start chanting the way little children do. Why don't you all do listen rolls?
That is a success, just a regular success.
Okay. Well, those of you who succeed, you can see that they turn their attention toward one house in particular, and their little sort of sing-songy nursery rhyme that they do sounds like this. Sounds like a dog. There's dogs barking in this neighborhood. You can hear them. They sing-song this little nursery rhyme sounding thing. Mean old witch, you won't catch me. Slow and old and cannot see. Your skin is white, your cheeks are red. We'll all be happier when you're dead.
What a quaint little tune they're singing, gentlemen.
And you can see that their attention is towards this house. And as you are coming up the street, you're realizing that that's the house that you're heading towards. You can see from the numbers on the street. Just before you get there, the kids all make a motion like they're startled. And you can see up ahead of you, the door on the front porch opens up, and somebody yells, a woman's voice yells, "Get out of here, you little bastards!" And you see something come flying out into the street and sort of shatter in the street. And the kids all giggle and scream, and they yell foul language up at the house. And then they go running away. They start running towards you. You can see that there is a woman at the front door. She's dressed in a light blue sort of frock, if you will, like an old person would wear. Her hair is unusually blonde, like obviously a wig, and her face is very white, and she has bright red cheeks and bright red lips, like an old woman who doesn't know how to put makeup on anymore and has done a really bad job. And she's sort of glaring at the children as they're actually at this point sort of moving towards you and around you, and she's shaking her fist at them. And just as you sort of move into the street in front of the house, you can see that she's sort of squinting at you, and then she slams the door.
Children are
Very
so sweet,
cosmopolitan.
aren't they?
Children, what assholes, honestly. I walk up to the door. I just stroll up.
Scary
I
thought
know.
is I remember singing that very same song when I was a kid.
Philip, when you walk up to the door, you now realize, of course, you realize as you're walking up that this was an old house. It's been turned into a duplex. And there are two doorbells. One of them says H. Franks, and the other one says M. Hathaway.
Well, I wonder which one I need to press. M. Frank.
Right.
M. Franks? No, M. Hathaway.
You
No.
hear a bell ring, and you're pretty sure the bell's from up here. So you stand there waiting. I suppose you've all gotten onto the porch. You're standing there waiting, and it takes a couple of minutes, and you can hear somebody coming down the stairs inside rather slowly. And the front door has a kind of a window in it. Whose dog is barking?
My dog.
You can mute.
Yes, I will mute right now.
All right. You suddenly see a face sort of look out with wide eyes. It's not the same face you saw before. And she opens up the door. Oh, you must be from the Historical Society.
Yes, I am Philip Portland, explorer extraordinaire.
Oh,
You're
you've
looking rather ravishing.
You've brought everybody with her. Now, she looks like she's probably in her mid to late 60s. This woman does. She says, please come inside. And you can see that you're in kind of a little makeshift lobby. So the house has been divided upstairs, downstairs with a single door in the front, but there's also a door over here. And Virgil, do a spot hidden roll. That's you, Oren. You are muted now.
Those damn dogs.
Dog will pay. I will send her back to Cairo. Actually, her name is Cairo. As you can hear, she can talk. She's talking to me right now. She's like, no, I did not make my spot hidden.
All right. Mildred lets you in, and she has you follow her up the stairs. She says, and she starts talking as she's going. She's like, well, I'm really very pleased that you decided to come. You said something about recognition for one of my ancestors, an architect. That's wonderful. You know, I don't get many visitors. My sister lives with me, but she's out of town tonight, Margaret, and she'll be back tomorrow. But let's go up. I've made some tea,
Oh, yes.
and we can sit in our living room. So the
Okay.
whole upstairs is a fairly spacious. You could say a fairly spacious apartment. Lots and lots of bric-a-brac and knickknacks and pictures and all sorts of things like that. And she has you sit on her couch, which has blankets and doilies all over it, and it's fairly neat but very cluttered, just because
Yes.
that's the way you are when you've accumulated a lifetime of stuff.
Miss Hathaway, I've got a question for you. Other than
Of
the fact you
course,
are
of
looking
course.
quite ravishing today. It seems that your house was getting unwelcomed chanting by some
Oh,
kids.
those children, they're always out there torturing that poor old woman downstairs. So what can I do for you? What can I answer for you about Andrew, my grandfather?
Mr. Carter, would you like to take lead?
Yes, yeah, we're trying to track down the designer of a particular fan above a door fan light, and it looks like this. And I pull out the sketch that I'd made the previous day.
Oh.
We believe that your grandfather may be involved. Does this look familiar, or have you seen a design similar to this in any of your grandfather's possessions or your memory?
Well, my memory's not what it used to be. Um, I know that he was an architect and he did a great many things. I'm almost sure that he did fan lights as well. It's a shame my sister's not here. She would know better than I am. I was too busy in my life getting married and having children of my own. I have 3 daughters. None of them visit me anymore. I've got 8 grandchildren, and she starts listing them. And she's like,
Fascinating.
my sister never got married. And so she's kind of the responsible one who takes care of all of that. And we've just got so much stuff. We've got stuff in the basement. We've got stuff in the attic. We used to live in a much larger house when I was a girl. But times being what they were, we lost, some money, and we had to sell that place. And now it's all been demolished, and it's been turned into part of the downtown. I'm sure that we have papers and documents and things that my grandfather would have written, but I don't know exactly where they are. I'm sure that Margaret would know exactly where they are. She's visiting a friend. She should be back by tomorrow afternoon. If you wanted to come back then, that would be fine. We love having company, and
Yes.
We'd love to.
Yes, we'd be delighted. You seem a very, very interesting woman, and you have a very interesting family that we would like to obviously learn more about.
well, and she starts talking. She says, the weather's been very nice lately, and this old house doesn't have any kind of this is the best time of year, because later in the summer it gets very hot and humid, and in the winter it's very cold and chilly. She has a tendency to ramble, and she rambles and she rambles and she rambles.
So during one of these rambles, Langston, he's got kind of an eye for potential objects of historical value. I'm kind of I take it this room is just sort of jam-packed with knickknacks and everything, just kind of taking a measured look around the room that we're in for anything that catches his eye as potentially interesting or relevant to the fan light.
It reminds you of the stacks in the basement at the museum. Every shelf has 20 things on it, and there's definitely some antiques amongst her things. Nothing in particular stands out. one of you worked at the antique store, you would notice things like that too, but nothing in particular that's very old or unusual. All New England stuff. You would guess that she's lived in New England her whole life, and probably so has her family for a few generations. Lots and lots and lots of photographs, mostly of members of family, going way back into the 1800s. Some of them better than others, some of them in better condition than others. But other than that, she rambles on for quite a bit. You find a little bit of it interesting. She doesn't seem to be the most knowledgeable person, and she's a little scatterbrained. She keeps referring to her sister as her sister's probably the one to talk to about that. But everybody do a listen roll as you're doing this.
She's chattering in my ear too much, but
I'm in the same boat.
I'm lost in the drolling, rambling that's coming from her.
I had a extreme success.
Okay. Virgil, as you're sitting there and everybody is like, your eyes are almost falling asleep because of her going on. You've turned your attention away, and just about the time that happens,
That's it. No more.
you hear a woman's voice in the background talking.
That's my wife feeding the dog.
No, as you're sitting there, you suddenly hear what almost sounds like furniture being moved, or heavy footsteps banging around coming from downstairs. It's not enough to catch everybody's attention, but you definitely hear noise down there.
Would that would be her downstairs, or more the duplex side?
You would assume that it would be the neighbor downstairs.
Okay.
No.
That you can hear banging around oddly.
When are you gonna have Go to the bathroom. Go to the bathroom.
And so she just continues chatting.
Interesting. Ooh. Can you? Damn.
And after a few more moments, you all hear a little bit of banging around downstairs. And this time it's enough that that Mildred stops talking, and she sort of looks down like this. And she goes, "That'll be the Hamisham. Oh, that's Mrs. Frank's Hilda. We call her that because of the Dixon story, you know, that the clocks all stop." And she looks at you oddly, and then she says, "It's a very, very sad story. You know, she was going to get married, and the parents of the boy wouldn't let him marry her, and they promised each other that they would wait forever. And then, of course, he got married, and she's still waiting."
That's rather sad.
It's sad.
What are they like down there?
Well, it's just her. She never goes out anymore. She has her food delivered. I think she's gone a little batty, if you ask me. She used to be a doll manufacturer. She used to make porcelain dolls for little girls.
Porcelain.
I think that at one point in time, they might have been rather famous, because I've heard that you could find them even in New York in shops. But she hasn't done that for a long time. She's got arthritis, and she's got cataracts, and poor old thing.
Is Hilda the one that the children in particular target their fun?
Oh yeah. Did you see her?
Yeah,
Yeah, she popped out the door for a minute and tossed something at the kids.
I thought I heard her yell just before I heard your knock.
Gentlemen, you know what might be nice on the way down if we just go check on, just as a courtesy.
Oh, I don't think that's a good idea.
You don't?
She is an old, bitter, crazy woman. Occasionally
dealt
we'll
with
run
many.
errands. We'll occasionally run errands for her, which she seems to be grateful for. But she knows us.
I've been to some crazy places. I've met some crazy people. She can't be that crazy, surely.
Oh, trust me. I bet she is.
So you sit and you chat with her a little while longer, and so you sit there for almost a couple hours, and you don't really get any more information. She says, come back tomorrow. My sister will be able to probably. I'll tell her when she gets back, and she'll probably go up into the attic and find the stuff that you want, and have it ready for you when you come back. If you come back around 6 p.m., she'll definitely be back by then.
Yes, we will do. We will.
Now, if you don't
in the course of that conversation, I would mention at some point if she might have a photograph of her grandfather. I notice you have a lot of photographs around.
She does. Yeah, most definitely. This is him right here. Looks just like a regular fella. And she shows you Penelope's picture and the two of them in their wedding and all of that. But the kid, these are the boys. And
is the perhaps the old Hathaway mansion in the background, or
there is an old picture, a couple of pictures of the old Hathaway mansion. Typical what you'd expect for the period.
So I might pull out the magnifying glass that they keep in the jacket pocket and look at the house and the doorway that's the Hathaway house, and see if just on the off chance that fanlight design might be present.
It's not. You would know almost immediately that this house was probably built at least 50 or 60 years before that picture. Different period.
Mm-hmm.
So Mildred says, now, if you please, going up and down the stairs is a little difficult for me. So if you wouldn't mind seeing yourselves out.
Of course.
Absolutely.
Yes, don't worry. We will.
She says, it's so nice to have people
Most
visit.
certainly.
My children never visit me anymore. All right, so you let yourselves out.
Downright shame.
You let yourselves out, and you start down the stairs. And you get to the bottom of the stairs. And I'd like you all to do a spot hidden roll.
Regular
Regular
success.
That time.
Okay.
I failed.
So those of you who succeeded, because you're thinking about it, when you get to the bottom of the stairs, you glance over at Hilda Frank's door, and you can see that it's cracked open a little bit. And you're pretty sure that she's standing there peeping at you because she can hear you coming down the stairs.
Because I am the gentleman I am. Miss, are you okay in there?
And that eye sort of gets big, and she's like, "Who are you? Are you here to torment me?"
No. I'm Philip Portland from the Historical Society.
Well, go away. And she slams the door really hard.
You're a very intriguing woman. We should talk sometime. What a loony. Jesus.
Oh look,
I think
one of
you're
your
trying to
fans,
block
Philip.
Philip, I'll give you a spot hidden roll.
Yeah, that's a hard success.
Oh, good. All right. In that sort of moment, you could sort of glimpse past her into the room. And you noticed that it was predominantly white. Oddly, almost as if there was a coating of dust on everything. It was unkempt. There was a conglomeration of things, and you're pretty sure that you could see doll parts all over the place.
You would see me. All of you would see me shiver if I noticed any doll parts. Fucking doors.
You also notice that there's bits and bits of this white powder outside here in the outside, going from her door light to the front door. There's not a lot of it, but it's definitely there. Some sort of white powder.
I whisper, I think this woman needs some mental assistance.
Um,
Oh, you think?
I'm gonna be in the corner and get used to this type of
just got
stuff.
that now, huh?
I'm gonna take a small sample of the white powder.
Okay. It's not much more than you can, do with your
Yeah.
finger on the floor.
Right.
Yeah, it's definitely white and very fine, like flour.
Hmm. Yeah, I will put. If I have an envelope, or do I have anything to put it in or not?
Sure.
All right. I'll say we'll check this out later on. I'm quite sure it's nothing, but seems to be a lot of it. Maybe
Love you good.
could be bug powder.
Yes, but kids were calling her a witch. And she has... I don't want to think about it.
So
I think you're letting your imagination go
Oh,
with you,
come
Mister.
on. I called my
Portland.
ex-wife a witch.
I
Mr.
was
Quinley.
actually quite intrigued by Mildred's story about the dolls, and thinking, the dolls could make an interesting exhibit. I want to just write on the back of my calling card a little message about museum curator. Of course, the front of the card says that, but interested in talking about your dolls, and I'll just slip it under the door there. It's got my office phone number on it.
Okay.
Mr. Cope,
You
Dr.
sure
Cope,
you
you'd
want to talk
understand.
to her, Carter?
I'm not sure yet, but I'll leave the possibility.
That's not a bad idea, Mr. Carter. If she was known as a famous doll maker, that does have some importance in our society.
I agree.
Good
When you've all-
catch.
You should all go to... if you've ever been to
Oh.
Kenya, you'll understand
Oh,
my
shut my
issue
mouth.
with witches.
Wow, I understand what you're saying, Robert. But at the same time point, history occurs with every passing day, and who knows, this lady might need to be known in the future by our future colleagues who will be part of our society.
What, for being some creepy doll maker?
Ah, Portland.
All right.
I
So-
swear.
You step outside onto the front porch and down the steps to the little walk that leads to the sidewalk. And then you start back down the hill to where you parked your car. And there are still children playing in the street. You recognize a number of them from the same ones that were in front of the house. They've changed what they're doing. Maybe they're playing marbles on the ground, whatever. Actually, right in the middle of the sidewalk on the way down, you encounter a group of 4 boys that are playing marbles.
Gentlemen, I have an idea. Excuse me, young children.
Yeah, what do you want?
I have a question. What do you know of the witch?
The old
As I've
witch?
heard? Yes.
She's an old witch. She eats children, like all witches. She's a children-eating witch. Everybody
maybe-
knows that.
Well, I've got an idea, because
Very
I'm a bit
cosmopolitan.
maybe I should take one of you to her and use you as bait.
Just try it. She's an old witch because she's old.
Yes,
The
that makes perfect sense.
little redheaded boy who's got freckles is saying this to you. Everybody knows when you get old, you turn into an old witch.
Well, everyone knows people with ginger hair are the devil's spawn, so
So
I say this out loud to the kids.
I say, by the way, which one do you consider the witch?
The old white-faced witch with her red cheeks. She's crazy.
Is that the one that came out?
Yeah, the old witch.
What about the other lady that lives next door?
Oh, you don't know her. She's just an old lady.
Have you ever seen her sister?
Yeah, we see them all the time. They're the only ones
Okay.
who come out. The old witch never comes out,
Oh.
except to yell at us.
Ah.
Or maybe you should stop harassing
You know
her.
she's a witch because she's got light blue eyes.
Yes, but if you saying that, you young'un, I could, like I said prior, you've got ginger hair, so you could be the
No,
spawn
she
of
doesn't
this
have any
devil.
black holes in the middle.
No black. You probably see her from a distance.
She's
You're
got eyes like a
crazy.
vulture.
I don't trust these kids. Let's just go, gentlemen.
Thank you, gentlemen. As we go. Enjoy your game.
And they go back to playing.
That was pointless of me. I'm sorry,
Very
gentlemen.
progressive, these French hills.
I remember playing marbles like that myself.
All right. So you get to the bottom of the hill. You get in your car. It's now only about, what did we say? Maybe 5 o'clock. What did you want to do?
Gentlemen, what would you care to come back to mine and have some tea?
Well, it is 5 o'clock. We never did get a chance to check some of the airplanes, but it's a little late to check certain aspects. Do we want to do any more research?
We could do it tomorrow. We have time. In the morning and afternoon.
True.
Before coming back. So.
Yes, let's do it in the morning when we're fresh. Let's, get a good
Right,
meal.
I'm with Portland on this one. Right.
All right.
Where shall we meet tomorrow then? And at what time?
Well, probably where we met today would be probably best. 11, 10 or 11?
Well, 11 will give me a chance to make sure things are going well in my office. You never know what is going to arrive.
Yes, 11 might be suited. I need to get back to my companion on our trip to Australia soon. So.
All right. So the evening goes pretty much without anything unusual happening. You wake up the next morning. You do whatever you're doing. And around 11 o'clock, you end up back at the Historical Society. I should say the Historical Society has been around for quite a while. And it has its own accumulation of stuff, that it's collected over the years. People donate things to it. People have collections of things that, we're the last generation, and before we die, we're going to give this stuff to you. And that happens all the time. So you've got quite a collection. One of the members, there's other members besides you. But some of them are less sociable. You guys are like your own little clique in there. What is his name? One man who you're not particularly fond of is Mr. Ropes. Lester Ropes. He's meticulous. He's good. He keeps everything well organized, but he doesn't like people touching the stuff. So you almost have to get his permission to touch the stuff that you guys have accumulated over the years. So that's just sort of to keep that in the background, that there's other people who are part of the Historical Society. All right, you get back together at 11 o'clock. What would you guys like to do?
I think we should find out more about Mildred and Margaret. The one said she was married, which we could find out a little bit about her and also the other.
Not a bad idea.
Did Mildred mention a time that might be appropriate for us to meet Margaret? I don't recall.
6 p.m.
Oh, okay.
6.
All right, so you do some research. The only thing you really find out is that Margaret Hathaway, she never married. You might call her a spinster. She at one time worked at the bank, and that Mildred, on the other hand, married a man named George Lang. Mr. Lang passed away a few years ago, and they had 3 daughters, Margaret, Elizabeth, and Hannah. They've got 8 grandchildren, or she's got 8 grandchildren, which never come to visit her anymore. But other than that, you don't really find out much more about her. They just seem normal, everyday people that did whatever they did.
Mm.
The interaction with Hilda Franks yesterday has kind of piqued Langston's curiosity, so he might be acting like he's looking up Margaret and Mildred's info, but he's doing some searching on Hilda Franks and Hilda Franks dolls and see what he comes up with.
Right. You actually rather easily find references to Frank's dolls. And what you find out was that Hilda Franks sort of inherited the business from her aunt. And her aunt's name was Sally Fowler, who was also a doll maker. That she had done this for years, and that her dolls were very well done. Beautiful porcelain dolls, all handmade dresses. There was nothing prefabricated about them, all hand painted, and that eventually the business just sort of fell apart. The dolls were famous enough that they were found in Boston and Rhode Island and New York and places like that. But it seems that she was probably the one who was solely producing them by hand. So it's a hard business to maintain, especially when you get older and you get arthritis. So it had its prominence. Her dolls would probably be valuable if they could be, found, one in perfect condition. You also turn up some interesting information also. You're looking for more examples of the fan light. You have references to it, but not as an Andrew Hathaway. There are a few what the guy who wrote you, he thinks that they're miscategorized. But there are 2 more examples that you find. One is in Alsbury, and the other one is in Bolton. So they're still technically in the Miskatonic Valley, but they're not in Arkham. Both of them would be a half an hour to a couple of hours away drive.
That would be a trip, but it'll be fun.
That'd be a nice road trip. We could
all in the name of research, eh?
We could find out who is actually involved.
I do have one question, Virgil. You still got that little sample you took from that house, did you?
Oh, yes, I do. As I pull it out, a little envelope. Thanks for reminding me. I had forgotten about checking it out.
I am a paleontologist, which means that don't worry about that. Me being a paleontologist, I am also quite a geologist. I'd like to take a look at that.
I hand it over to him.
All right. Oh, you have a microscope? Probably.
Oh, probably.
All right. So, Dr. Cope, you're looking at it through the microscope. Do a knowledge roll.
Knowledge.
It's just your intelligence.
Oh. Regular success.
Okay. You're 90% sure that it is porcelain clay, that it's just dry, it's powdered clay, specifically porcelain.
What you got here is just powdered porcelain clay.
I'll do a quick pH sample of it.
All right. If, in fact, you know what the pH of powdered porcelain clay is, it's powdered porcelain clay.
Yeah. I mean, that just confirms it in case there's anything odd that would be in there.
Well, and if she was making porcelain dolls, that's not so unusual that you'd find porcelain clay.
It's true.
Oh, she gone mad and is just
That-
constantly making her
That
dolls.
certainly looks like what it is.
She seems to be obviously still involved with it in some way. Though at her age, if the issues that she has, it must be extremely difficult to do anything fine. It might be some, and that crushed porcelain might be some frustration on her part.
Yes. She's getting old. So.
Philip, you're thinking now, too, that when you peek through the door, that white powder that's on everything is probably powdered porcelain clay.
Ah, yes. When I had a peek, there was white powder almost everywhere. That poor woman. She's gone mad.
I wouldn't call it mad. It happens all the time when people lose certain abilities. They get frustrated because they're unable to do what they used to be easily able to do.
Pity. Remind me never to grow old, gentlemen.
We all grow old, Mr. Defaster.
We all do. And then people like other people in the future will be studying our former artifacts and bones.
Yes, and all the many animal heads. I
And they'll
have in
all
my
look
house.
back on us and say what a bunch of crazy bastards those were.
Honestly,
Amen
I
to
think
that, Mr. Cope.
if they read some of my journals, they would probably think I am a madman. So,
All right. So the day winds on, and you start to make your way back to Federal Hill, French Hill, Federal Hill.
Oh, I thought we were doing a road trip to one of the spots.
Oh, are you going to do that today?
And we said it would take a half hour, so we could probably
right.
get out there and back.
Yeah, you can get to Bolton and back in an hour. You drive out to Bolton, and you find on Jones Boulevard, 798 Jones Boulevard in Bolton, there is a municipal hall, Scowers Hall, that has that same light over the door, the same window over the door. Seems identical.
Interesting.
It's a municipal building, you say?
Yeah.
Yeah, we might be able to find out real quick who was involved in construction, considering it was a municipal. Should be in the Holler Records, and it's early enough we could check it out before heading back. They would have the records of who was hired and who worked on it.
Could see.
I agree.
It is worth looking into. You never know. Something interesting could come out of it.
Mm-hmm. So we do a quick check at the Holler Records.
All right. You find that the main architect was James Pleat. The building was built in 1849, but it doesn't give you enough details as to what other architects were involved.
Does it give a list of people who were paid?
No.
Okay. Well, I write down the name of the architect because maybe we'll find out more.
Okay.
Yes. Good thinking.
Well, later on we might find a reference where he used certain people. And this building was built when? In
1849.
49. All right.
What time is it now? What time is it?
So it's about 2:30.
Do we have enough time to hit the other place and get back to our thing, or would we be cutting it close?
That would take a couple hours to get out to Alsbury.
We probably should head back then and be ready for our meeting.
Yes. I have been to a Bolton and an Aylesbury when I was in England. Quaint little towns in England. If you ever go, gentlemen, you should check it out.
Well, this doesn't prove or disprove anything. I mean, they might have hired several architects. He might have had some people underneath them.
Yeah, and
Yes.
Margaret may remember her grandfather doing business in Bolton. That'd be something to ask about.
Mm-hmm. Who knows? They might have the records of his actual work there.
True.
All right. You finally end up, you travel back to Arkham. You travel over to the place where you parked before. And the same situation presents itself. There are children out playing. There's people doing their laundry. There's just a lot of activity around. And you can see once again, as you're moving up the hill, that the kids are there tormenting the old woman. It's probably something to do on a regular basis. But you're farther away. And as you move up and you approach, the kids all sort of break up and start running away. As you can see that a few things have been thrown from the doorway at them. And you once again hear the old woman screaming, "Get out of here, you bastards. You're a bunch of dirty children."
Out of curiosity here, what has been tossed out of curiosity?
It looks like doll heads. They've shattered when they've hit the ground.
Don't look, Philip.
I already had a look. I was going to...
They shatter pretty well. The little pieces.
I know they're little pieces, but just knowing what they were sets me off.
Actually, it kind of reminds me of some of the work I have to deal with in my office.
You notice that there's quite a lot of children, at least a dozen kids. It strikes you that it's you remember as being children that children could be pretty vicious, and you see your little redheaded boy, running along there. I'd like you all to do a spot hidden though.
I swear that little red-headed boy's the spawn of Satan.
I got a regular success.
Dead on 50.
I'm
out of
blind
50.
as a bat.
Okay. Who passed?
I had a regular success.
Okay. All right. So if you passed, one thing that strikes you as a little bit odd is as you're moving up towards the house and the kids are skipping away, there's another kid who joins them. Looks like a little blonde girl, and she comes out from between a couple of the buildings to sort of join them, skipping along behind them. And what strikes you as odd is she's dressed better than the kids are. She's got a dress on. She's not like in pants. And she follows them down the road, and they all sort of disappear, around a corner.
Out of curiosity here, almost like a doll?
Maybe.
Hmm.
Yeah, kind of dressed really pretty like a doll.
Okay.
Sure, it was a little girl though.
Yeah.
I had a cousin like that. Used to
I-
run off to the foreign neighborhoods.
So, you go up to the door. You ring for Mildred, and another woman comes down from upstairs. This woman's a little bit more smartly dressed. She's a little taller. She's a little less decrepit, and you're assuming
Hopefully
that
less
it's Margaret.
talkative.
Right. She comes down and she's like, "Ah, please come in. You must be from the Historical Society. My sister was telling me all about you."
Yes,
You
Philip
must be
Portland.
Margaret.
Yes,
Hathaway.
please come upstairs. Now, she looks actually older than her sister, but she seems to be in a little better condition.
You are looking rather ravishing.
That's what my
my
sister
God.
said you said about her yesterday. I'm not going to trust you. You're a charmer.
You need to work on your play, Portland. Good Lord.
No, it's just it was a little test to see if how
She's
well
like,
they
she's like,
communicate.
I'm in my late 60s. I'm not ravishing. Come upstairs.
I love your sense of truth there.
So she comes. You guys go back upstairs, and once again, Mildred's delighted to see you, and she starts to tell Margaret about you guys yesterday, and she's like, "Yes, they're here. We don't have to talk about them being here yesterday." And she has a pile of things on the table in front of you. She says, "So my sister told me about what you're looking for. You want some recognition for our grandfather. We would love that. That would be fantastic." I went upstairs and I looked through our things, and I found these. Here's his college documents that he was an architect, that he was educated. Here are some of the projects that he worked on, and I've in fact found a, I guess you'd call it a blueprint for the fan light designs that he's done. And she shows these to you, and it's exactly the same fan light.
Mm.
Oh, interesting.
And looking through his paperwork, does it mention the other places? The Providence.
It does. It seems like the three examples are the ones that you know about. There were originally a couple of other examples that are no longer, the buildings are no longer there. If the fan lights still exist, they've been taken out of the building and sold, and they could be anywhere at that point. But this definitely proves that her grandfather designed that particular fan light. So it definitely answers the question. You know.
Wonderful.
Wonderful. And we let the two ladies know this, that this helps us a great deal of providing us the providence to indicate that this work is his, and definitely be able to give him credit for this design.
Well, I hope that that's what your man needs. Now, I've got some pictures that I can give you if you need pictures of what he looked like. You start to get the impression that she's going to give you plenty of material to give to the man in question, although you're probably guessing that this is probably going to be a minor little entry in his book about New England architecture.
No, but it would be very useful for our society, since he's a local, figure now.
Well, I've always been interested in the history of the town. I'm a bit of a mini historian myself. I don't know why I never joined the society. I guess I just never had the time.
It's very intriguing.
I used to work at the bank. In fact, that's who I was visiting. My old boss, he's getting very old, and he's probably, going to kick the bucket soon enough. And I just thought I'd visit him before he did that. We had a good relationship, and a good friendly relationship. And
that's very kind of you.
I worked all the time, now that I'm retired. I don't have the arthritis that my sister does, but probably get it eventually. But
Well,
I know
that
a
does
great deal.
sometimes skip a generation.
Yeah, it's possible. I just won't get it. But I try to keep apprised of all of the gossip and things going around town, and who's married to who, and what's going on. Do you have any questions that you want to ask? I might be able to answer anything. And Mildred's like,
the fan light.
she's much more knowledgeable. You know,
The fan light is a very interesting and unique design. I was curious if you remember your grandfather telling any stories about where he came up with this design, or maybe your father talked about that.
I don't remember him ever talking about his work. I knew he was a man who designed houses and buildings and things like that. And I knew that he liked to draw, did a lot of drawings. I've got some of them, but they're more, she starts showing them to you, but they're all just architectural features that he's sketched out. And he's got them labeled all correctly, you know, which period they come from and this kind of feature. If a client wants colonial, this is what you do, and stuff like that, but nothing really remarkable. You start hearing noises once again from downstairs, banging around, and you can see that it annoys Margaret. You know, she says, what is she doing down there? Mildred's like,
does it disturb you?
No, she just makes a lot of noise. She never goes out. She never does anything. I don't know what she could be doing. Her place is crazy.
It seems dusty in there for sure.
There's white powder everywhere.
Yes,
That's
she
from
makes
the
those
the porcelain that she makes the
creepy
dolls.
things.
She hasn't made dolls in years.
Actually, I have a question for you, Margaret. Oh, Mildred, you might be able to answer. It's not odd per se. I just wondered because a lot of the kids out there are a little dirty, if you know what I mean.
That's this
Cruel would
neighborhood.
be.
But there was a young girl, a blonde girl, smartly dressed.
I don't know. They're all just wild children usually.
She just seemed out of place. I thought you might have, considering she was with the group who.
Well, the
seemed
only
to
time the
harass you.
local children dress up at all is on Sundays if they're forced by their parents to go to church. They're usually pretty good about that, but most of the rest of the time they're just snotty-nosed, dirty children running around all over the place. I never had children myself. I never really wanted them.
That's fair. Some people don't. I have 4 ungrateful children myself.
Yeah, talk to Mildred about that.
Out of curiosity, did the his 3 sons? What fields did they go into? Your father and his 2 brothers.
Well, my father was. You make me work this. My father was, one of those, and my other brother, my 2 uncles were also involved in that, but they, they went their own ways.
Yeah, I'm just basically collecting the stuff that our
Sure.
society would want to know. Yeah,
Sure. And she's got other stuff as well. And the evening goes on. You guys have any other questions you want to talk to her about?
I do not. I actually want to go downstairs at some point, but I will wait for the rest to leave as well.
I'm going to make sure to document what we need and go, to make sure that we, and impressed that they've kept the designs. And I asked her, "Do you happen to have any records of the family before this? Because that would be helpful too. Because we're always looking for material about the past, and that gives us a better glimpse of what life was like at that time point."
Well, we've got quite a few things upstairs, but I've always imagined that the kids, the younger people in our family would eventually want them.
Well, I understand. I'm just saying that we may want to look at them and then hand them back. That way we could document period life of that time point. It might make mention of other prominent people in the area, and we can have a better a better idea of how life was and the connections.
Well, I mean, we'll definitely consider.
But only, at your, of course, permission.
Well, I mean, it's pretty well organized up in the attic, but it is the attic. It's dusty and it's a little dirty, and I'll tell you what. I mean, I can look through it and see if there's stuff that you'd find interesting. If
you want to do it on another day, that would be fine. We could come back later on for it. It is getting a little late.
We could do that.
I'd rather have it done at your convenience.
Yeah, I don't see any reason why not.
This living condition, does your next door neighbor have a connection to your attic, or the basement?
No, she has access to the basement. You're talking about Hilda Franks.
Mm-hmm.
There's a very sad story.
Yes, we heard.
Oh, you heard?
Yes, you're...
Please, we'd like to hear your version of it.
Well, years ago, she was going to be married to Mr. Clyde Beckford. Now, the second she says Beckford, you're all familiar with that name because there was the Arkham it was a big mill. Aylesbury Arkham mill was owned by Elihu Beckford, and Clyde was his son. And Clyde was off the top of your head, you thought that Clyde was married to some daughter of an oil baron or a railroad baron, something like that. You've seen the name Beckford before, even at your own historical society, a rather prominent family at one point. And she says, well, Hilda must have gotten it into her head somehow that she was going to marry him, but she wasn't of the same station. So, that didn't go very well. And the Beckfords wouldn't hear of such a marriage. And I guess it kind of broke their hearts because they wanted to get married and they weren't allowed. I think I heard Hilda a long time ago say something about, promising to get married once the old man died. I suppose she's talking about Elihu. But yeah, she's been a spinster, not like myself. I actually did things with my life, but she learned her doll making from her Aunt Sally. And her Aunt Sally passed away when Hilda was 20, and Hilda just continued to make dolls. I think it was the only thing that she loved doing. It was the only thing that kept her from going crazy, which it didn't do a very good job of eventually. Now she's just an old, bitter, somewhat nasty old woman. She's decent enough to us because we've been her neighbors for many, many, many years. we do occasionally do errands for her. She never goes out anymore.
Mhm.
But yeah, it's a really sad story.
And that happened a lot up here in New England.
Yeah, the class, everything was about class. Everything's still about class. 1929. Class. Here you see, I was once from a fairly prominent family, the Hathaways, and now I'm living in this hole.
So does Hilda still take like deliveries of porcelain clay and so forth, or any other strange
she
deliveries?
hasn't made any dolls for a few years.
Oh, woman, clinging on to the hope of a marriage that will never happen.
She's completely blind. We have a possibly an impolite. We refer to her as Miss Havisham from the Charles Dickens story, the woman who.
You're right.
Yeah. That's perhaps not polite, but yeah, it's a sad
Didn't
story.
Miss Havisham have a daughter or someone that she was grooming as well?
Well, we're not that for yes, that was the story. In this case, it's just just that she's a jilted love, and she waited for the man and he never came.
Happens a great deal.
Worse than that, the Beckfords are just across town. So he died in a he and his wife, I think, both died in a carriage accident.
Oh, how awful.
That must, if you found out, that must really have made her go a bit, I don't know, set on marriage, that he would come back for her, and then he's taken away. That can send anyone a bit.
It's true. It's very, very sad. I don't know why she wouldn't just why she waited. Why wouldn't you just decide at some point, well, I'm not waiting anymore?
Some people are that way, unfortunately. Yes. Some are able to move on, and some are never able to move on.
Some women are weak, and they just.
Well, when it's true love,
Well, I've noticed it happens to men as well.
Well, perhaps. Anyway, yes, you are welcome to come back. I don't go out that often. I go out, occasionally do shopping and stuff like that. But Mildred stays here most of the time, and I don't travel much. I just, as I said, I visit a friend, but that's something that happens every 6 months or so. So yes, drop by anytime.
Excellent. Thank you. Both to you and
Much
Mildred.
obliged, miss.
No, thank you.
Are we
right.
now? Are we borrowing these materials? Is she loaning them?
Yes, she'll let you have them temporarily.
Excellent. We do need to keep these away from. Don't let Lester Rope see that we've got these. Otherwise, we'll never be able to
crying
go
out loud!
through
Do
them.
not let Lester get a hold of these things.
Last
time I let him take a look at a hadrosaur skull, I thought I missed it for the next 5 hours looking for it.
Wow.
Turned out he recategorized it somewhere.
Well, could I make a suggestion that one of us hold on to these materials instead of taking it to the society? Because that if it gets to society, Lester will find it.
Technically, that is against the bylaws of the society, but I think in this situation, I'm for it.
You stickler for the rules. Don't worry about that.
Why don't all of you do a knowledge roll, intelligence roll?
Jesus Christ. My mind has gone
one.
completely blank. I got a 99. So,
I breathed in some of
regular
that
success.
dust.
All right. Who passed? Okay.
Extreme success.
All right. So Robert and Dr. Cope, you're walking down the stairs, and it suddenly occurs to you, with the others talking about not letting Lester get a hold of the stuff, that you're pretty sure there's a couple of boxes in the Historical Society's collection that have the name Beckford on the side of the box.
Gentlemen, there's a couple of boxes over at the Historical Society that have Beckford's name on it.
Yeah.
I was just saying the same thing.
All right.
I also want to do
We
one
might
thing.
want to check those out.
I'm just going to knock on her door. Yes, the crazy woman's door.
Oh, for fuck's sake. You going to check up on your fan again?
Do you knock hard or do you knock lightly?
To start off, I'll do a light knock to start off with.
All right. There's no response.
And then I will do a loud knock.
There's still no response.
But how long ago did we hear the, clamoring? Would you say?
Half an hour ago.
Carter.
If I put my ear against, can I hear any?
Do a listen roll.
Nope. That's failed.
Okay. You think you might hear somebody shuffling around, but you're not quite sure.
I'll do one more knock. Slightly louder than the previous loud knock.
Okay. You start to hear a noise off in the distance, and you hear a shuffling. So you can hear her now coming towards the door. And you hear from the other side of the door, "Who is it?"
It is Mr. Portland from yesterday. You saw me.
"Stop torturing me, you little brats."
No,
Says, "Go away, go away." And you hear her bang the door. And she's like, "Go away, go away." You hear her walking away. "You're rotten children."
I am not a child. I just shout through.
All right. So what did the rest of you do?
I just shake my head. Yeah. And I just look at Carter and go, I think your idea was better about putting a card underneath the door. I just hope he doesn't jinx what historical notes you want to do on this.
Well, we'll see what comes of it. The Beckford boxes that Robert and Dr. Cope mentioned at the Historical Society may shed a bit of light on our strange Mrs. Franks, or Ms. Franks, I should say.
True. This does kind of tickle my fancy. And, if not for the human aspect.
I want to test something, gentlemen. I know I'm disturbing this. I just want to test the reaction. So I'm going to knock again. And it's like, "Excuse me, I just want to speak. We're from the Historical Society. We are doing some research on Mr. Beckford, the Beckford family."
I'm going to take the box of goods I got and move away.
And we know you might be an associate.
There's no response.
Okay, she didn't respond, so... It was just a test, gentlemen, that is all.
All right. Testy old women. So you step outside and down the porch, across the little walkway to the sidewalk, and you start heading down the hill. Now you immediately notice, as you're heading down the hill, there seems to be a crowd of people down at the bottom of the hill, men and women, no children. And as you get closer, you realize there are some police, and that something has happened, and that the people are sort of looky-looing, and you suddenly hear rather hysterical female crying. And as you sort of look through the crowd, there is a body in the street. It's covered in a blanket. And what's happening is the policeman is pulling back the cloth a little to show to two people who are standing there, a man and a woman, and the woman's become hysterical. what you see is a little freckle-faced, red-headed boy face down in the gutter, dead. And that's where we're leaving it for tonight.
Any regrets, Philip?
No regrets. He was the spawn of Satan.
I look at him. You know, this is going to be my work tonight.
Our players included Jeff Beck, Nimrod Futterman, Oren Mayer, Grant Dowell, and Josh Harwood, with myself as the keeper of the secrets. We're currently producing up to 4 shows a week with music and sound effects added in post-production in order to create a richer listener experience. We provide audio-only versions of our shows free for you to download from Podbean or iTunes. The costs involved with the show are provided almost entirely by our patrons. Without them, we wouldn't be able to do what we do. If you'd like to support our show, please visit our Patreon account. Just $1 to a month helps us a lot. You can find a link in the description below. Like, share, and subscribe to our channel, and punch the bell icon for updates on our latest shows. And leave us some comments. We enjoy reading them and answering any questions you might have. This is Tom Rayleigh, together with all the members of our gaming club, inviting you to journey with us once again into the darkness for another adventure into the universe of H.P. Lovecraft and the Call of Cthulhu role-playing game. Until next time, good luck and good gaming.